I know I've said other things in other videos, like I want him to be looking at me when he comes to me, and how I want him to respond to pressure, and all that has to do with how he's going to be on stalk, right? So like if I have to put pressure on him on stalk, he can't leave the pen, or he can't leave and go to the edge and lay down and completely disconnect from the livestock. So he has to be willing to accept pressure and say, oh, I must have made a mistake. What is it that I can do to fix this? Or what can I do to help you? And part of him looking at me when I recall, or also when I put pressure on him, I really want the dog to stop and look to me for some direction, is just kind of getting into his head and letting him know that this is me. This is about what I'm going to ask you to do on stalk, and if you're responding well to me, then we're going to be able to work. And if he cares about work, that will develop, right? As long as I'm consistent and fair, okay? So I can't be unfair about corrections. But I also can't just say, well, he's sad about me putting pressure on him, so I can't pressure him. I'm not increasing my pressure, I'm just being consistent. And then when he gives me the desired result, then I'm going to release the pressure. It's the same way as if you were using a treat to lure a sit, right? If he's mobbing your hand and you can't even get him to think, you're going to take the treat away. And then when he's calm again, you're going to reintroduce the treat to lure the sit. What are you doing? Another thing is just, some of it is like resiliency, and then him learning how to be bored, him learning that this is not all about him learning that this is not all about just him mauling livestock, and if he can't, he has to be able to take direction in order to herd. So the instinct that he has seems to be a lot of prey drive, and it's definitely moldable, but once you take the prey drive away and you say, you say, hey, what are we going to do with these livestock? He then has to have the drive, the appropriate herding style drive to actually do something with livestock besides haze them. A dog that hazes can be useful in certain situations. A lot of people, might use a dog that hazes to keep animals away from a gate when you're trying to go through. Might use a dog that hazes to keep livestock off the feed that you're trying to put out. But all the dog then has to do is kind of chase the ones that are coming towards it or coming towards where you don't want them to be, and then they kind of disconnect or lose interest or come back to the handler after they've done that. It can be useful, but I like to see, does the dog have more in it than that, right? So trying to actually get these guys to do, these guys as in the goats, the sheep, the cattle, whatever it is, getting your animals to do what they don't want to do. It's all easy, it's all fun and games until the livestock says, I'm not loading in the trailer, I'm not going towards the gate, I'm not going to come in from the pasture. And then you have to have a dog that really can dig deep into their genetics and say, actually you are, my job is to make you do that, and I'm not going to give up until it is done. So again, getting a dog to really control livestock, move livestock in a controlled manner, and then continue to keep the pressure on them. So there's a fine line between pushing too much and completely letting go of the bubble, and being off contact is what a lot of people would say. So again, when I pressure him, he doesn't need to go off contact and let go of the livestock, because if these guys weren't broke to humans and weren't gentled down, they would leave the situation, right? They would be panicked and flighty, and if he released all the pressure on them, they would then go back to doing what they want to do, and they would get progressively harder and harder to gather, because the dog is never gaining and maintaining control. And that's the long explanation of why I need him to accept pressure without releasing too much, why I want him to respond to pressure in a certain way, why I try to get the dog hooked up to me mentally. It's not so much about him physically being close to me, but when I ask him to do something, if I know that he's going to hear me, even if he's far away, even if he's engaged in something else. So this goes back to the, if your dog is running after a squirrel, can you call it off? Because technically these should be as interesting to your dog as squirrels are. Cookie. Good. So even if I leave him there for a long time and I talk to the camera and I ignore him and he hears my voice, when I say the cue for him to recall, he should be in the mindset to do that. And then I know, and he's offering it down, that's on his own, then I know at least he's hooked up to me and we can start trying to work these livestock around. But if he's not, he doesn't have me in the picture at all, we're not going to have a very good time. Cookie. in the middle of them, trying to grab one. So I'm trying to change his focus a little bit. We need to do something productive with these animals. So we need to take them to where they want to be, to where they don't want to be, hold him there, let him feel being in contact with the livestock, let him feel having control over the livestock. He's in control right now. I'm in control as well. I'm here, I'm holding my side, he's over there, he's holding his side. So this is kind of what he needs to be developed in this dog, is that desire to feel control. So if I always let him go around, go to the back, a lot of times what he ends up doing, if he's not splitting and chasing, he ends up kind of going off contact, and then he's just using his movement to make the stock move. Right now he's trying to release a little bit of pressure on the livestock. They're looking at him, and he's turning his head to the side to kind of relieve some of that pressure. So I just want to let him just kind of chill there and feel that control. He is obviously in control, because if I step away and call him with me, I guarantee that these guys would leave. So that's kind of how you know if your dog's in control of your livestock or not. Try to put them somewhere that they don't want to be and hold them there. And if you then call your dog off and they immediately leave, your dog was holding them in that position.